there are so many people coming to Sacramento to say, don't cut my program. And they're all worthy programs for the most part. In-home support services for the severely disabled, Meals on Wheels for seniors, tax credits for renters, senior renters, the list, Cal grants. The list goes on and on of the things that we have to do. So it's difficult to be an effective advocate in that environment because everything's on the chopping block. Everything, we're talking about cutting everything. So I've always said to people, when you come to Sacramento, don't come to Sacramento with the same song and dance about don't cut my program. Come to Sacramento with stories about how the cuts are going to impact people, real people. It's an easy story to convey, I think. I've heard it on the campuses that I've been to. Young woman with 7 siblings says she's not concerned about herself, she's concerned about her younger siblings going to college. Breaks your heart. When you come, if you come to Sacramento, what else breaks my heart? I talk to students. The average time now for a student to finish the CSU is 6 years, not 4. 20,000, 40,000 students being turned away. Those students have to come to Sacramento and talk about the impact that has on them, and now it breaks their parents' heart. That happens. Those stories have a much greater impact. Now, the regents can't tell that story. They can't. The president certainly is not interested in telling that story. And I'm very concerned about this corporatization. I mean, everything, we want to sell off everything. We want to sell off our prisons, we want to sell off our schools, we want to sell off our hospitals, we want to sell off our roads. I'm sorry. The state, we do have some obligations. Take public safety, healthcare, education, that's in the public domain. I'll just go back to an earlier question, which is, what's the difference between public and private university? One word, access. Access. The public university is for everybody. The end. It's not about your income, it's not about your legacy, it's not about where your parents went. It's about your ability, our ability to give young people a chance. And the last thing I'm going to say is, don't be fooled by the rhetoric about who cares about higher education in Sacramento. There's a misconception that the Republicans care about the UC system and they fight for you. They don't. They don't fight for you. They don't give a They don't give a rip about you. Because if they did, they'd be willing to consider raising revenues to fully fund the UC system, and they don't. The fight over higher education is always by the Democrats. We're always fighting, and the professor's right, we're fighting to restore labor studies. We're fighting for EOP to make sure that the 209 doesn't totally decimate our university systems and take away all the diversity. We're fighting for that, and we're fighting for a new compact between higher education and the state. Because the old compact, first of all, I wasn't there when it was negotiated, so I don't feel wedded to it. I don't care about it. But we have to have a new compact. And I just think we have to have a different conversation about higher education, because it shouldn't be a state where we're even considering to privatize higher education. We're even considering to eliminate Cal grants. Now, I'm just going to tell you something. I'm pretty pissed off at all the students here. I got to tell you something. I'm just going to rewind the clock a little bit. When the governor announced he was going to eliminate Cal grants, I thought there was going to be a public outcry. I thought there was going to be strikes. I thought there was going to be protests. I thought there was going to be people were going to come to the Capitol. I thought the newspapers were going to cover it. I thought it was going to be on the front page of every newspaper and be the first story on every newscast for then until the governor pulled that proposal. That didn't happen. I'm not saying all of you, but there was some outcry, but it wasn't loud enough. And it just showed the governor that he could propose such things. If he could propose elimination of Cal grants and get away, we put the money back, not the Republicans. We got the money back. No way we're going to stand for that. But it does show him the blueprint, that there is not going to be a public outcry if he starts talking about privatizing the university system and turning it into an internet university. That's what he's talking about. I mean, that's what he's talking about. Learn over the internet. And I just remind my colleagues, go to a campus. Okay? Yeah, you learn things by reading and lectures, but you learn, all due respect to professors, you learn interacting with fellow students and them challenging you and you challenging them and challenging the professor. You don't do that over the internet. You don't do that on Facebook. You need to have the social interaction. So we can never allow this conversation. It's not a debate. We can't even allow the conversation to even happen about privatizing our university system. It's just wrong.
Well, again, I didn't mean to minimize the efforts of the people in the legislature to do things like Save the Labor Studies program or access programs. But the important point I was trying to make is that that's a very small amount of the entire UC budget. And the big number, the big general support number, is basically negotiated with the governor, between the president's office and the governor, and then they go to the legislature and defend it. And I know this from having had it reported to me a million times when I was on the budget committee, and I know it from going to Sacramento and talking to people in the legislature, and when we would, people who I think were very supportive of higher ed, and when we would tell them some of the things that are going on inside UC because of the cuts, they looked at us like we were nuts. I mean, and I had more than one person say to me, why has not the university leadership told us about this? And I think the reason is because it would embarrass the governor. And that is the prime directive. I think that's one of the reasons they're not supporting your bill, is because they don't want to piss off the governor. But in answer to your question, I haven't heard a squeak out of any of the gubernatorial candidates on these issues at all. And I think that's a problem. Now, Meg Whitman is running ads saying everything's okay, just cut some more. But I think that the fact is that the gubernatorial, and it's sort of the point that Assemblyman Trico is making, the politicians aren't going to engage the issue unless they feel like they have to, because there's so many other problems that have to be engaged. And so if the public and we don't start demanding of the gubernatorial candidates, what is your position on the restoration of a public university system in CSU and in California, they're not going to take a position. They're just going to let things keep sliding the way they are. And in terms of this thing of a new compact or a new image, or, you know, there's this Gould Commission that the regents have set up, I think we don't need it. We have the master plan. We have Clark Kerr's vision. And what we need to be doing is figuring out how to reinstate that. Not, I mean, the charge has been, you know, I've been in enough committees that, you know, you can determine the outcome of a process by the way you write the charge. And the charge that the regents have written is to figure out how to make do in a time of increasingly declining state resources. Now, that's not an irrational thing to be concerned about given what's been happening. But I would have been a lot happier if the other half of the charge would have been, if the charge would have been, how do we reinstate the master plan for higher education in California? And then if we fail, then what do we do if we fail? But not to presume failure at the beginning, which is, I think, the mentality that has taken over a large number of the people running this institution right now.